Coming up in this week's episode. Oh, that response is so disgusting and so invalidating and so inappropriate. And I am so sorry that that's what you got. Welcome to The Liberation Effect with me, your host, Helen Villas. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Liberation Effect. Today, I'm joined by Elizabeth, who has gone no contact with her father. Her mum died in 2018 and now is left with some unresolved feelings around his behaviour, her behaviour, and just generally looking for some support and help to navigate through this period of her life. Elizabeth, is that a good estimation? Is that a good summary, rather, of what it is we're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that about covers it.
Okay, cool. So if there is one kind of goal or more, if there's anything that you want to get from our time today, what would that be?
Well, I am certain in the decision of no contact, it would just be maybe to validate that a little bit, just have another grown up to say that's okay. But to maybe really, and I don't know whether I'm just choosing to focus on something else while everything's so raw with my dad, but what I really just don't quite understand the relationship with my mum and the dynamic between them, and I don't know whether that's significant at all, but I just whether that was my relationship with her was healthy. I'm starting to pick at that a little bit.
Okay, how's that feeling, picking at it?
Not great.
No, fearful?
Yeah, really fearful because I adored her, and it was something else when we lost her. I was very, very close with her, and I always saw her as my protector, really.
Right.
And I don't know whether now, having done a lot of reading and listening, and whether actually there was quite a lot of enabling going on.
Okay. That's a very painful place to be sitting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I was one of those classics, like, oh, I had a really great childhood, and I think about it now and think, oh, did I? I don't really know. Yeah.
It's really difficult. So why don't you give us a little bit of background around like the relationship with your dad, how you've got to this place now where you've gone no contact, and what's changed in your kind of perception of childhood and the relationships?
Primarily, I became a mum.
Okay.
Yeah, so when mum died, it wasn't long after 2 years I had my first child, and I'd done a lot. So when mum died, there was a lot of looking after dad. There was a lot of fielding phone calls every day. There was a lot of stuff with my dad that was, in the instant my mum died, within a couple of hours, he was talking about their sex life and how it was poor.
What?
Yeah, it honestly, the morning mum died, the bed was still in the living room, and on the way to taking some bedding to the tip, it was all a mess. But my dad started talking about how their sex life had been awful the last year, and how mum wanted him to go on a bonking holiday, was the phrase used. So my dad doesn't have any boundary with me. He talks to me like you would a male friend, and I say that I don't my men that I speak to of my generation don't speak that way, but my dad and his friends certainly do. But anyway, so my dad immediately went into dating apps and widowing apps, where his focus really was on the women. And I felt at the time like, oh, I've got to help him get through it, and I've just got to listen, and I've got to just take it on the chin. And my brother, God love him, is a much smarter character, so he distanced, as he should have, and as I should have, but I didn't, and I was around a lot, and I heard a lot, and that's just really continued. But once I had children, it became more evident how poor a father he was, and how that was then kind of mirroring into how he was being a granddad. And my child's now 5, my first child, so I'm hyper aware now of how conscious he is of my dad and how uncomfortable he is around him. And
Oh gosh, okay.
the choice to go no contact was made fairly recently. I knew it was coming because I'd been noting on my phone after every visit all the inappropriate things, all the unsafe things. And
Mhm.
once a year had come up, my dad visited recently with his partner, and it was a very difficult, very short visit, 50 minutes, but he managed to push a lot in. And that was the decision. So I wrote a letter receipting everything from the last year and sent that. I shared it with my brother because I wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page. I wanted him to know, and I
Mm.
didn't want any narrative twisting, which is happening a lot with my dad. So I just wanted me and him on the same page. I am hyper aware that I've made my brother quite vulnerable because there's still contact between dad and my brother. So any 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 unpleasantness now is going to be going towards my brother.
It's interesting you're taking responsibility for how your father treats your brother.
He's my little brother.
No, but did you hear that? You said, I've made him really vulnerable. I'm hyper aware that I've made my brother vulnerable
Yeah.
by going no contact, by writing the letter.
I
Who's making him vulnerable?
I feel like I have because I've chosen to really blow up my dad. With I didn't give my dad any warning. I did, smiles, acted totally normal, have done for the last year, and then out of the blue, he's received a letter where I've gone, you've done X, Y, and Z on this visit, and X, Y, and Z on that visit, and that would have come out of the blue to him. And he is a very reactive person, and I know,
Okay,
yeah,
go on.
yeah,
You know what?
I just know that my brother's gonna get a lot in the ear. I know my brother's gonna, and he doesn't need that.
Okay. Notice there, just notice that you're taking responsibility for how your father behaves and whether or not your brother tolerates it.
Yeah, yeah, I do a lot. I always feel like I have to manage my dad. I feel like that's my job.
Mm. Where did you learn that from?
When that was mum's job, and when she left, that was very much my job. I was the only one that everyone did the right thing. They all kind of distanced, and I felt left responsible for him. Mum wrote us all letters, and me and my brother had an identical copy of the letter, but it was basically to the kids, and it said, look after Nan, which would be her mum,
Hmm.
and to look after dad, and that he would say awful, unforgivable things, but to forgive, and that he would become the charming man that he normally is. That the wheels would come off for him, and that he wouldn't be great, but that to just hold on and to not talk to him. That was specific in there, just to not. We don't do that in our family. We keep in contact. And my
Oh,
brother,
that's tricky.
it really tricky.
Go on, sorry, you were going to say, and your brother?
My brother, it, I think he came to the realization of our family dynamic a lot earlier than I did, and he distanced a while back,
Right,
moved away, just chose to protect himself, just didn't make the visits, didn't, and but it just felt like, oh, okay, the pressure's on me. I'm the one, you know.
right.
Mum died, he left the day after, and I'm the one with dad. I'm the one taking the brunt of it, and have been since. Yeah, so he really has felt my responsibility. All the family come to me about dad.
So it's almost like mum died, you slipped into her role, her shoes,
Yeah,
you became a kind of surrogate partner, and everyone else kind of backed away.
yeah,
You had to go closer, and then now you've decided you want to back away and protect yourself,
yeah,
but in doing so are feeling horribly guilty because that means therefore that your brother might be more exposed to stuff or other people. It's like you've been that force field protecting everyone, but taking all the hits. You're not behind the force field yourself.
yeah. No, yeah, no, I am aware of that. The reason I would have carried on, I think, for a long, long time if it hadn't been for the fact that I had children and I was watching them be treated the same way I was being treated. I was
Right.
hearing, my 2-year-old daughter. being referred to in the same way that I used to. My dad has a real fixation on women's physicalities and
Right.
those unending comments through childhood and through to and direct to my mum all the time about how he appeared, how he looked.
Sexualizing.
Not not always. No, not too well, yeah, I say not. It was always about my weight. That was the primary issue, that I was a fat kid, that, my mum would try and encourage him to say nice things like a trap, really. And he would then, my mum's, oh, doesn't she have lovely legs? And my dad would go, well, she would if she didn't eat ice cream, or,
Mm.
it was all very, and he was always on my mum about her appearance, and she was a bigger lady. So, and it was, we couldn't watch a film, a program, anything without my dad going, "God, she's gorgeous. Oh, look at it," And it was always super sexual the way he would talk about women on television.
Mm.
And it was weird. There's a couple of characters that my mum really did look and was a lot like, and we loved watching these programs with her in it. And my dad was so, I don't know if vitriolic is the word, but hateful towards these women. And it
Mm.
felt targeted. It felt like you're saying that because she looks like mum.
Yeah. And I would argue that you're probably right. He was saying it because of that, I would think.
Yeah, it did feel that way. So, and he had, as I said, like he had very open. He was happy, post mum die, and he was very happy to talk to me about his opinions of women and how women should look and appear, and that intelligence was a big thing for him. But he also had this addiction. It is an addiction to porn from a very early age. I remember Dad using the
Mm.
family computer room, and he would lock the door from 6 till 7. We all knew what was happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Elizabeth.
every day, every day. And you would hear it sometimes. And when the iPads became a development, and we all got, well, not we all got, he got one, he would watch porn in the living room. He would watch it while we were all sat
What?
watching films, watching whatever. He would be watching porn, and my brother lived upstairs practically, but the stair hooked behind my dad's armchair, and my brother would come
Right.
downstairs and see that was on, and my dad would throw the iPad against his chest, and then we would all pretend. But we all knew what was happening, and he just,
You would sit in the living room, just for a second. Let's just pause and not skip over this too much. So prior to iPads, he would lock himself in a room from 6 till 7.
yeah.
And you were how old at this point? Would you say
It was
when he
when
was locking himself?
I know it was happening from about 10. Yeah, about 10, I reckon.
Okay, so from about 10 years old, he was every night between 6 and 7 locking himself into the
The family
computer
room,
room
yeah. And it was,
and masturbating,
yeah.
and you would hear that. And could you hear the porn as well?
Yes, and it was in a further part of the house, so you wouldn't actively hear it because we would generally sit with mum watching TV. But if you went past it to go to the toilet, you'd hear it. Or if you were upstairs in the bedroom, you could hear it. So generally, from that
Just,
period, you,
I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you and notice you minimizing it. You're saying maybe it wasn't as bad as I'm making out. You're saying to me, can you hear? Can you hear that you're doing that? That you're saying,
yeah,
I wonder if actually what's happening is that you're fearful that you're giving me misinformation or making it sound worse than it was, and that I would somehow say, "Oh, well, it's not that bad," as if he was in a different part of the house and you only knew if you walked past or were upstairs. Are
genuinely,
you worried about
I'm actually hearing just
that?
my dad in my head. Go,
Okay, so he's minimized it. He said that's
um,
okay because he's in a
yeah,
different part.
yeah, I'm hearing that it's normal, and everyone does it, and he did it privately, and he went into a room and shut the door, and I,
All right. So just for a moment, let's imagine that you and your children are sitting watching TV and your husband goes and locks himself in a different room in the house to watch porn and masturbate. How do you feel about that?
really disgusted.
Right.
Yeah,
Why do you think it would be disgusting?
because there's children in the house, and it's not thinking of your partner.
Hmm.
It's not being considerate, and it's just thinking of yourself.
It's potentially exposing them. And I mean, he obviously did with the iPad, exposing them to pornography early, far too early, and also just generally inappropriately from a parent to be exposed to that kind of content, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then I go back to his minimization of it. How appropriate is it for him to do that, to minimize it? How valid is his minimization?
It's not. No, it's just there was in the house. We all laughed and joked about it. Not him, but my
Right.
mum used to make a joke about it. It used to be like she used to. I think I don't know, maybe trying to make us feel better about it. But it was
Mhm.
always a joke. And to be frank, didn't know it was a weird thing until not that long ago,
Yeah.
when my sister-in-law said something about it, and I thought, oh yeah, he did do that. Oh yeah, that was weird.
Mm.
Um,
Normal is
so
normal until someone says that's not okay, right? Because if
yeah,
mum's making jokes, if it's being spoken about, why would you think it was anything other than your issue with it if you felt uncomfortable with it? Like, why would you, question it if the adults are kind of going, it's okay in one way or another,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
But, you know, realistically, so here's the thing. We're not saying for a second that he's not allowed to watch porn or that he's not allowed to masturbate or enjoy sex or, you know, enjoy the female figure. The point is of how that is kind of demonstrated. So if he wants to masturbate to porn privately, that's fine. But you either do it when the children are asleep or not in the house. Not so
yeah,
that everyone knows you're going off down there to go and have a quick, you know, relief session. And
yeah,
not so much that, not in the living room where they're walking in seeing that potentially,
yeah.
you know,
It was
go on.
it. Yeah, yeah. It because it was a family computer. He would bookmark, and the bookmarks were always open, and
Oh my God. Like,
you would read the titles, and yeah, yeah. So that stuck with you.
I'm going to ask you to use self or first person language. Because when we try to sort of distance ourselves from something, you hear it all the
Yeah.
time. People will talk about a traumatic event and they'll say, you feel like this when that thing happens, and you feel like that, and you feel,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Instead of, I felt this thing, right? So they
yeah,
sort of separate it. It's called distancing. And you did it just then. So it's the I statement rather than the you statement. So if you
yeah.
could, yeah, just try and, because that
I,
allows you
yeah,
to connect to it, you know? So,
yeah, yeah. So I saw things on there that made me really uncomfortable. Yeah, they're just very uncomfortable. And there was one that I highlighted with mum, and she spoke to him about it, and she said that it was fine, that she'd seen it, it wasn't as bad as the title suggested, and that he couldn't speak to me about it, but that he knew he'd done wrong.
wait, so there was a particular title you saw that caused you distress. How old were you
It
at this point?
I was older. I was 19, I think. If no, 18, but no, 17. I think I was still at college. Yeah, I was 17, and I was using the computer for school, and it was really weird. The video was called Brutal Rape, and I just pointed. I got mum. I pointed at it, and then I walked away. And then mum, very oddly, I needed to go to a sewing class, and my mum said, "Right, okay, well, me, you, and dad will go." And I thought, "Oh no, 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 no! I don't want to be in the car. I didn't want to be with him." But we
Mm.
all got in the car and we sat very silently, and it was a good 50 minutes away from my sewing class. So sat there, and then that evening while I was at sewing class, she had a conversation with him apparently, and very awkward drive back. And then when he got in the house, he went, ahead, and mum said to me, I've spoken to him, and so he can't bring himself to speak to you about it, but he knows it's wrong, and I've seen the video myself, and it's absolutely fine. I think,
How,
in fact, she said it was just rough sex, I think was the phrase she used. So, yeah,
how did you feel about it when that all happened?
frightened.
Yeah. What was the fear?
Not that he would do anything, I don't think, but more that that's something that men were watching, and that was of interest to men. And I don't, I was a very naive person on that front anyway, and just, yeah, I felt very awful about it, and freaked out and creeped out, and yeah, it did make me more aware of Dad in that realm, and
Okay.
I became more aware of. I was watching him more. I was clocking stuff he was saying, whereas before it was, not long after I went off to university, and when I came back, I lived with him for a couple of years, and then everything seemed to be like, oh, that's not all right.
Mm,
That's not how you think about women. But I fundamentally know he hates women. He just,
mm.
every, everything about him, about how he interacts with women, how he talks about women, but how mum and me, just zero respect
It
at
sounds a
all.
lot like women are just sexual objects to him. And
That,
that,
or he's actually said that. He said before, like, they're either sexual or they're maternal, as he said.
so
Yeah.
making babies or looking after them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So reduces you basically to a uterus
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
and a vagina, I suppose. I was
Yeah.
going to say something a lot more crude when I said uterus, and I filtered
Yeah.
myself, and maybe I shouldn't have done, because literally he did reduce you to a whole, both of you.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
communication was that women are only good for this.
Yeah.
And
It
you,
was.
at 17, you know, seeing something like at 17, your sexual development is happening at that point, and I mean, it's happening all the way through your teenage years,
Yeah.
but at that point it's becoming a real part of potential relationships or relationships that are already established, and your curiosity is going to be kind of full bore at that point at 17. That's
Mm.
very normal and very healthy, and your parents have absolutely no right being any part of that at all. And when a parent is doing what your father was doing, they are intruding on your sexual development in a very, very big way, because what they're doing is almost dominating that space of yours. They're teaching you what sex is and what it should be and what men look for from sex. And, and women do this, mothers do this as well. This isn't exclusive to men, especially in this area that I work. But we are talking about potentially talking about a covert sexual abuse. And I wonder, have you heard of that at all before?
In all honesty, it was a podcast. I literally only listened to it last week, so
Right.
I heard you mention it with another patient, and it immediately made me think of that
Okay.
was going on in the house, and yeah, just their attitude towards it, and yeah, there was a lot around that. I would hear their arguments about it, or yeah, I had through uni, I was sexually assaulted twice, and
Mm.
I felt safe enough to talk to my mum about it,
Mm-hmm.
but the reaction I got from my mum was not great. So, in
Sorry.
fact, one was in front of my mum and dad, and I got off this train, and I said to my mum what happened, and she said, "Don't let it worry your don't let it ruin your holiday." And I just think about that now, and I get so angry about it and hurt that,
Yeah.
because if it happened to my daughter, you just want to comfort them and
Yeah. You would just
but
cuddle them and love them and
yeah, but I was met with, let's not ruin this holiday. We've put a lot of money into it, you know. Yeah, and the other time, her response was very much like, "Oh, it was terrible, but take it as a, at least he was looking at you and interested in you." And
oh, that response is so disgusting and
yeah,
so invalidating and so inappropriate. And I am so sorry that that's what you got, because what
yeah,
you got was somebody, one parent holding you, loving you, and the other one fighting for you and getting the police or getting, whatever it might be that needed to be done. And you got, don't let it ruin your holiday.
yeah, yeah. I did.
And be grateful that they're checking you out.
Yeah, and I very, very unsurprisingly, I didn't engage in any of that. I didn't engage in sex until I was mid-20s.
Right.
I was frightened of men.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, but I wasn't interested in it. And there was a lot of conversations in the family about whether I was gay or, all that
So more
assumption.
intrusion, more assumption and entitlement to your sexual development.
Yeah, yeah,
So there's this just constant from your father intrusion into that particular space, and you know huge sexualization. Like, even if it's not directed at you, there's a constant narrative of women are only one thing, and you being reduced to that. And then naturally you shy away from men, from both his behavior and the experiences you've had. And then there's speculation about your sexuality. And even if you were gay, right? So this is the thing. It's not that there's anything wrong with being gay. Nobody's got a problem with
no,
that. Certainly not here anyway. And it's that you, if you want to share that information, should be allowed to do that in your own time. That shouldn't be poked and prodded at and talked about and discussed and speculated, and it shouldn't be dinner conversation. Oh, I
yeah,
wonder if Elizabeth is gay. Are you gay? Do you like girls? That should not be anybody's information unless you choose it to be,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's a bit, there's always a thing for me around coming out. I find it a really interesting thing, in that if somebody is heterosexual, they just bring a partner home for the first time, right?
yeah.
They don't say, "Oh, I'm letting you know I'm straight." They just bring
Get on
someone
with it
home.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I hope that for my children it's the same thing. That whether it's,
cool.
whoever they end up with, if they even want partners, that they just bring them home. That we don't have to
Yeah,
have this really difficult
this,
discussion where they feel scared of my reaction, and I hope that they won't. I think I've normalized it enough. But
yeah,
there's a really interesting kind of thing around that kind of sexuality of, if you're gay, you have to have this kind of coming out, or bi, whatever. So if you're not heterosexual, I should just say, because it's
yeah.
actually only, and it's really unfair, first of all. And
Usually,
second, and then second of all, speculation around your sexuality, especially when it's because you're terrified, is horrific as well, because it just it shames and shoves you further into the box of shame around sex,
mm,
and you're not being allowed to develop your own identity, your own sexual identity around that. I am starting to understand the conflict around mum's behavior and mum's part in all of
yeah,
this, because you said at the beginning she was your protector, and I'm wondering where you were protected. And I know that's a really difficult question, but what I'm hearing, even in that, seeing that website, to then put you in a car with him And you said 50, and I heard 50. Was that how long it was?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
So
good
for
egg.
an hour, you're put into a car, having just witnessed this thing. Nobody talks about it. There's no apology from him. She then has a conversation with him while you're in your class. Then you come home, and again, still no conversation. He doesn't apologize from what you said. Is that right?
No, no, not at
So
all, no.
no
Well,
acknowledgement,
through
no.
mum.
He didn't apologize.
No.
He did not apologize. And did the behavior change or stop?
No, no.
And so then mum, on top of everything else, minimizes it, saying, I've seen the video, it's not that big a deal. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as it sounds.
Yes, it was exactly it, yeah.
Let's flip it again. And you find your husband, your daughter has seen that your husband has been looking at these videos and seen a title like that. What's your reaction?
Anger. I'd be really angry.
Right.
I'd be really upset for her, having seen it.
Okay. What would you say to her?
That I'm sorry. And I'd give her a massive hug about it, and I'd comfort her. I'd really want to take him to task.
Yeah.
I'd really want to nail him.
Right. And what sort of things would you say to him?
I wouldn't be with him. I don't. That's what I don't get. I don't get why she was with him.
Okay.
I don't. I don't get. I don't understand it. I wouldn't put up with it. But I know you're going to say I'm minimizing it. I just don't know if it's a generational thing or whether it's. I really don't. My mum was just didn't know what was happening to some extent. Or I want her not to be. That's terrible. I want her to be a victim of it. I don't
Mhm.
want her to have been a part of it.
What if both things can be true?
Can they?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And I know I'm quite vocal about, the enabling parent being as responsible and, all those things. But I do allow the fact that they are also being abused. There is
Mm.
not, there is a truth in that. However, they are the person with agency. They
Yeah.
can get government benefits, they can get a job, they can get a different place to live. Not easy for a second. I'm not suggesting for a second that it's super easy to just go out and leave your husband and take 2 children and be a single parent, but it is possible.
Right.
And especially in this country where there
Mm.
is quite a lot of support. And, I obviously know how old you are,
Mm.
and we're not talking the 60s or the 70s. We're not even talking the 80s, are we?
No, we're not. No, we're
So
talking 90s and
right,
noughties.
90s and noughties, and we're in a place where people are aware of this kind of behavior being bad and inappropriate,
Mm.
where this is a conversation, where the NSPCC is huge. Esther Ranson was doing her thing in a big way through the 80s and 90s, right?
Mm.
There was huge awareness and, conversation around what is or is not appropriate for children. And at that point in time, and there was also resources. Did she work? Did she have her own job or no?
I'm gonna make this worse. They're both teachers. They're
Oh, Elizabeth. Okay.
both smart, intelligent people that worked with children. My dad primary, my mum high school. Were really well regarded. Were my dad, you know, worked with young kids. They absolutely, I went to school with a lot of them. They loved him. There was just a that's I know a lot of people say about narcissism, but that's one of the really bastardy things about this is that in the community of people that know him, he's this charming, lovely bloke, and I have no idea why his children distance themselves and just
Mm.
the people in the village knew, because we lived across the road from a pub, and it was like, oh, we hear your dad shouting, and it used to be a joke, and that's where my brother used to escape to.
Right, right.
But it's just so difficult when they're well liked, well known, and I say they, and it, it's him primarily. It just, when I say she protected me, we did more. My dad wasn't particularly present. He was the disciplinarian, but he was out of the house a lot. He did a lot of DIY in the garden. He was out of, always working on something on the weekend. So we were with mum a lot, and
Right.
with my nan and grandpa a lot. Like, they
Mhm.
primarily raised me, and it what was lovely, but also probably not great for my dad, was that there was a lot of videos, a lot of home videos, and when mum died, they were all given to me, and I watched them, and my dad's in so few of them, and there's hundreds of them, and
Right.
my mum's there occasionally, but what you do see is two children call their nan and granddad mum and dad, and
Mm.
what you watch
Wow.
is a mum and dad relationship, and
Wow.
they are my mum and dad. I was mum was a mum. She was a really great mum on a lot of things, but I had my nan, and I still have my nan. I'm very lucky.
Mm.
My my granddad, who was a really fine example of what a man should be. He
Mhm.
was So I was very lucky on that front, and I spent a lot of time with him. But when it hit adolescence, and my grandparents had got a little bit older and weren't required for childcare so much, and I was around my parents a lot more, then it started to get more difficult with my dad. Then it started to be more that, then it was more discipline, and that's when I'd say the protecting lessened a little bit. Mum kind of let him take the wheel on stuff, and I think for a lot of it, because she felt that this might be the answer to get us to be disciplined, to be obedient.
Right. I okay, I'm going to first of all acknowledge your parents as teachers would have had all this, they would have been ahead in terms of safeguarding and appropriate behaviour with children,
Yeah.
certainly around sex and sexual abuse. I appreciate people might not have understood covert sexual abuse, but they would have understood that the boundaries of that were poor at the very best, that that's not appropriate for your father to be doing. And then I want to just, this is something I'm feeling a bit nervous about offering. And I think it's just because I
Yeah.
think it's going to be hard for you to hear.
Mhm.
The thing I want to notice is that when you were small and with your grandparents, so much that you're calling them mum and dad, what did your mum have to protect you from your dad from if he wasn't there?
Not a lot. No.
Right. That's the thing that I think is possibly really difficult. Is that in
Yeah.
small childhood, while your grandparents were doing so much childcare, she didn't have to protect you from him because he wasn't there.
It was more that, so, I mean, we slept with our grandparents till we were about 5, but after that, if when they left in the week, we were then with mum and dad, and obviously you've been co-sleeping, so I found that difficult, and I would crawl into mum's side of the bed,
Hmm.
and he would kick off. And I just remember, she would take me into bed, and she would sleep with me.
Right.
I just remember feeling safe with her, and I remember being protected. I felt a threat from my dad. I felt he would put his hand over her to get to me and be like, "Nope, she's fine. Send her back to her bed." And I would go, you know,
Right.
um,
What's
yeah,
happening for you right now in this moment? What are you feeling?
really sad,
Yeah.
really, really sad.
It is really sad. This is the real grief. Noticing. Well, I wonder what you are noticing in that story, just about the beds and stuff, if anything.
I wonder why it was my grandparents that I slept with. Although as lovely as it was, I wonder why it was them.
Were they living with you? Is that I'm trying to understand
They would,
how.
sorry, they lived far away, but they would come down on a Sunday night and they would stay with us for the week and they would go back on a Friday evening. So my parents would work full time as teachers and we were with them. We went to nursery and things, but we slept in Nan and Granddad's room.
Why were they doing that? Just out of I'm intrigued. Why were they doing that?
My mum tells, or used to tell, a very proud story of how she used to. Oh, you'll probably know the phrase for it. It begins with an F, and it's to do with child sleep. Basically, cry it out in any other language.
Oh, right, okay.
And she said that it was 2 nights of you screaming on the stairs, which I'm pretty sure I remember. And she said after that you never cried again. But what I do remember is being desperately frightened when my nan and da left and being heartbroken when they left and not wanting them to go. And then mum saying, oh, it used to be a nightmare. We used to take you into the garden so that nan and granddad used to sneak out because you would throw such a fit. And I remember now, because I've got little ones, I know what this is. The idea that you wouldn't want to sleep with your kids, like I love it. I love the fact they need me, and I know it won't last forever.
Yeah.
And I want to be their comfort. And I get up every night, regardless, and I'm either with me already, or I get in with them. But there is no world in which there's a screaming child in this house wanting for an adult, and I get really fucking angry about it and I get really sad. And I remember my mum just very proudly telling other parents, you need to try this. It's brilliant. It's just 2 nights of this and you're fine. And I just always got the impression I was a needy kid and I was a pain in the arse.
And what do you think now?
I wasn't.
No, you were not. You were
just a kid.
grieving the loss of your grandparents. You had no concept of whether or not they were coming back, and they were safe.
They were really safe. She's still safe. I go to my nan's. I sleep better than anywhere.
No, do you? That's cute.
She's still really. She's just a person that I can speak to, and she doesn't. There's bugger all judgment. She just listens to me. And with my dad, it's just he looks bored. He looks, God, when are you going to stop talking? Then I can talk. But anyway, so yeah,
go on.
It's just it is reconciling that a little bit with mum because where there was aspects about it, with Dad when I was a teenager, because maybe that's what she was used to with being a teacher, but she was much more comfortable around us at that age. But as a child, maybe we were just a bit of an inconvenience that slowed her down a bit with her career.
Hear what you're just saying? Small child that she chose to have was an inconvenience.
Yeah.
That's dreadful. If you're scared of rejection, of saying no, have no idea how to trust people, you're not alone, and you don't have to heal alone either. That's what the Hub is for. It's a membership community designed for survivors just like you. Every month, we dive into powerful courses, we hold live calls, and connect in a supportive, understanding space so you can break free from the past and build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's time to stop surviving and instead start thriving. Visit jointhehub.ac today using the code POD20 to get £20 off your first month's membership. I can't wait to see you there. Take care. Bye.
I feel that now. When I talk to other people, I feel like I'm an inconvenience. I feel like I'm boring and I'm wasting people's time. I feel that all the time. I'm terrible. My son's just started school and I don't speak to people and I feel it that it comes across as rude, but I'm not deliberately being rude. I just think I'm boring and no one's going to want to listen, and I'm just going to take up their time, and what's the point?
Right. What lets you know that someone's bored?
Their eyes go vacant.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
I just
Or
I get,
what do you do that you think is boring? What do you think people find boring?
I don't know. I just feel it fundamentally in my bones. I just any interaction, my family are really. There was a big part of the family where you know they were really smart people. They went to uni and they did art, academic degrees, and they read phenomenal amounts. My brother was a really big reader. Is a big reader, smart
Mm.
guy. I am not a big reader, and that was a big shame department. Like they would joke about it, and I did an art degree that wasn't worth the same as theirs. That well, I say they. She was very proud of what I got, but my dad immediately when I got it was like, well, that's not worth the same as what I got, and it means more back then. Degrees were worth more, and
Oh my
you
God.
you did an art degree, I did English lit, and that means something. And I did in quote unquote curtain design, so it didn't mean the same. And I think
Oh
he
my
felt
God.
really annoyed because I got a better mark than him, and that really
Uh, so he
wound
had
him
to
up.
minimize the quality of the degree because your grade was higher.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. I would
yeah,
argue, just very briefly, and I don't really want to get into a competition of what degree is worth more and, any of that.
yeah. That's all.
But art is a giant skill. It's a bit like playing the piano. You can't do that unless you work and practice. And you know, there's a thing that I see. I follow somebody on TikTok who's an artist, and she does the most amazing hyper realistic drawings.
Oh
Her name is Emma Tower Evans. I'll, just for give her a shout out because she is brilliant.
wow. Yeah.
And she drew like a picture of anxiety and stuff, and it's
Oh wow.
just sublime. And I see people in the comment section saying things like, "Oh my God, you're so talented." And I always, and it's probably not my place to, but if I see those comments, I always respond with, "Well, it's only like 2% talent. The rest of that is practice. That's skill.
Mm,
You don't
yeah.
get to, you can, you might be good at holding and drawing with holding a pencil and stuff, but unless you practice over and over and over again, you don't get the skill." Right?
Mm,
So you
of
might be
course.
good at something, but without the thing. So I might argue that art demands a lot more in terms of skill than maybe English lit does. Not that it
Mm,
doesn't demand different skill, but then again, on top of that, there are so many different forms of intelligence.
of course.
They're
Yeah.
only talking about one type.
Mm,
What about physical, emotional? What about stick intelligence? There are creative intelligence. There's so many different ways we can be intelligent.
mm,
And what they've said is because, or particularly your dad, this
mm.
is the one that I've got, therefore this is the only one that matters.
Yes. I mean, she wasn't. He was very much like that, and continues to be. And it's really it's derogatory. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the
yeah, that's the right
phrasing,
word.
but just I have books on my shelf, and he assumed I hadn't read them, and things just constantly on at me about it. Just wants to make the dig.
Wants to devalue you at every opportunity, I think is what you're saying.
He absolutely does. Yeah, and it's starting to trickle down to the kids. So yeah, that was really the breaking point for me.
Okay. So now you've gone no contact.
Mm,
And, I just going back to your mum wrote this letter to you and your brother, the identical letter,
mm.
and she knew how he was going to behave.
She did, yeah,
She
to the
knew
letter.
full well what he would be
Hmm.
like.
Yeah.
And she asked you to tolerate the behavior. And this is, again, quite a blow,
Mm,
but I'm going to notice that to you. She asked you to do what you've been doing your entire life, and she knew what he was doing.
mm. Yeah.
How is that feeling?
Again, really sad. Just
Yeah.
a lot of it's just sad. Just it's really difficult with mum because that letter she wrote a whole host, not a whole host. She wrote letters individually to the close family members, and all of them, in their own way, problematic, except for my dad's, which he showed me, and it was a lovely letter. Which she's like, it was too painful to talk to you about this day, but here is a list of our top 10 best moments, and they were just like highlight reel. Whereas, the other letters, there was a lot of anger in it. Not at me and my brothers, but other people's letters weren't great. And from the point of her writing the letter to the point of her getting a terminal diagnosis, there was a period in which she could have altered those letters, but they didn't.
Mm,
They didn't, and those went out. They went to her mum, her brother, and I'm starting to. And I didn't know that until very recently either. I didn't know the
right.
content of their letters, and I'm starting to look at my mum slightly differently. I'm starting
Yeah.
to not see her as this savior.
Right. There's.
Because
Go on. Finish. Carry on.
when I had my kids, it was, I wish she was here, and I wish she would do this and she would do that. You don't know what she would do. You don't know.
Mm,
There were things I've chosen
right.
to forget about how she judged children and how she was pretty. Unless it was to me and my brother, she was very cold with other kids. She had nephews and nieces, and
Right.
that I spoke to my cousins not that long ago, and one of them said, "Well, my only memory of your mum is her telling me off at the dinner table for interrupting adults." And I thought, right,
Right.
I'm
So
sad for her. I'm
say a bit more. You're sad for her because.
that's how she's being remembered, and that's
Are you
and that
sad for
I'm
her or for you?
yeah, for me as well.
Mm. Other people remembering her in that way might make it seem.
Real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was something really striking about what you just said about her coldness towards children, her judgment of children, in that it immediately threw my mind back to what you said about you being little and that your grandparents would come for the entire week and abdicate her of her responsibility. And you said something like, once we got to teenage years, she was more comfortable. Maybe she was just really uncomfortable with smaller children because she taught teenagers. So maybe it was more comfortable for her to, be with them. And I challenged you on it then, actually, when you said it, I think. And I want to highlight this for you now. Her judgment of small children, her coldness towards them, and your experience of being kind of raised by your grandparents.
Yeah. No, she judgment was a really big thing in our house. It was a game that they loved to play. We'd go visit family, and it was the car ride home would be the dismantling of everything the family we'd visited had done. Did you see this? Did you hear that? Can you believe that's what she thought? And the
Right.
kids were often included in that, and the kids, how well behaved they are was a big factor. And it you felt it in the back of the car. You felt it like, oh, okay, right, that's how we need to behave. And
Yeah. Because that's what a child does. Well, you're exiling them, you're judging them, you're shaming them. So I better not be anything like them because if I do, you're going to think about me that way
yeah,
and I'll
and
lose you.
yeah, yep, yep, 100% agree. Yeah, no, I remember thinking it. I remember thinking, oh, I remember, and then it, as you got older, you started. This is where I feel awful. But we used to take part in it. We used to sit there and go, oh, yeah, me and my brother back of the
Mm.
seat. It was the chat. It was the chat afterwards, and
Again, it was normal, Elizabeth. This is where you can't shame that person in the back of that car, the younger you, because that would have been a survival technique too. Because what would have happened if you had turned around and gone, I really don't like this. I think it's really gross that you sit here and judge them and are mean. What would have been done to you?
I did it in my adult life. I did the very last
No
one of the
way.
last conversations I had with my mum in the car. She was talking about who she wanted there at the end, and she was implicit that she didn't want my nephews. And she made some comment, and I said, "It's not because of that, Mum. It's because you don't like them." And
Oh.
she was very defensive. But I felt I am very close. All the kids in our family,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really close with them, and there's nothing in my bones that would want to judge them. I don't, particularly my nephews. They're like my brothers, and here I always found it difficult with my parents because basically my nephews came later on in life. So when I was at uni, they were babies. So
Right.
when I came back to live with my parents,
Sorry, do you
noticing
mean
it.
nephews or cousins?
Sorry, my cousins.
Oh,
God,
it's okay. I just
yeah,
wanted to check because I was thinking, hang
you're
on, they're like
absolutely
your
right.
brothers. Right. So
No,
interesting. Have
they
you
are my
got
cousins.
nephews?
I have a niece. I've just recently had a little niece with my
But
brother's
not
had a little
before.
girl. No, but
I wonder why that slipped then. I'm just wondering if there's a Freudian.
I'm trying. I think because my kids are now very close with my cousins, and I'm always trying to figure out what the right title is for things,
Right. Okay.
and I do get muddled all the
That's all right.
time.
It's no big deal. I just wondered if there
Mm.
was a thing that was,
Freudian.
yeah, Freudian slip kind of thing. So sorry. So it was your cousin. You're really close to your cousin. She didn't want them there at the end, and you said it was just because she didn't like them.
Yes, and she was like, "No, it's not that. It's because I don't feel, I cannot remember, but I do remember highlighting it with her and being very like direct with her about, no, Mum, you don't like them. Like you don't like kids. I don't think I
Right.
said I don't like kids, but I remember saying you don't like them because
Right.
she just made zero effort with these children and was so cold with them and judgmental of them
Right.
and it's just looking back now, I hear her giving parenting advice to what would have been her brother,
Hmm.
and I think, good God, like the stuff that the advice that was being given, and what she had practically were obedient dogs. We just did as we were told, frightened to fucking death of our
Mm.
dad and her. I was frightened of her. I didn't want to get the judgment. I didn't. She's she never shouted. It was always guilt. That guilt
Right.
was Mum's technique.
So you were scared of her
I
shaming
didn't want to.
you.
I didn't want to upset her. That was the thing. Don't upset Mum.
Okay. And so here we are again in that place of responsibility. Her
Yeah.
feelings, how she treats you, how your dad treats you, how you have this omnipotent power. You'll have heard me talk about this before, I'm sure, where I
Mm.
talk about the fact
Yeah.
that you learn that you have the power to decide how they feel and how they treat you, and yet actually have no power at all
Mm.
because you can never actually do the right thing.
No.
And you're I'm sort of really feeling this grief for you, Elizabeth, because I'm really noticing that we've probably shattered quite a big illusion, I suppose is the word I want to use, but mirror maybe
Mm.
around your mum. And you just even with noticing that letter and her being really very aware of him and his behavior and what he will do,
Mm.
and that he will say unforgivable stuff, And instead of saying to him in his letter, don't do these things, these are disgusting, these are your children, they need you to be there to support them as much as you'll need them to support you. Be this person, don't be that person, yada, yada, yada. She tells him her top 10 moments from their marriage.
I never even thought of that as something she could have written, but you're right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sort of sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's that kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm very conscious though of peeling all this back, and you kind of, the can of worms,
Mm.
cans of worms that we're opening, and how that's leaving you kind of feeling, because this reality, you said in your email, coping mechanisms and how to handle the conflicting feelings I have about my mum being one of your kind of goals. And I wonder if those have actually just got bigger.
I mean, talking to you, it does feel more real, and it feels like maybe that, yeah, I think when she died, I made her into some kind of god in my head.
Which
And,
is what we do when a parent dies. That's a really normal thing. We
okay.
make them into saints. I did
Yes,
it with my
same.
dad. Absolutely. He died when I was 19, and I made him, and he was amazing in so many ways. But what I kind
Mm,
of didn't do was really sort of see his humanity. And there were some flaws,
mm,
not the ones that were smeared, against him, not the ones that
mm.
maybe the narratives. I'm saying this because I don't want any of my family hearing that
Yeah.
and going, "How would you?"
Yeah.
But no, just that there were things that he did that were human and hurtful.
Mm,
But I know that if he was here now and I called him on it, he would be like, "Yeah, no, that was fair. I shouldn't have done that." And I know he would apologize. But what I'm hearing for you is that you did challenge her on some stuff and she doubled down, or she denied it or defended it. And what we're seeing is not that she was human and made a few mistakes, but she really may have protected herself before her children, where your father is concerned.
mm.
And that is really difficult.
Yeah, my husband pointed out the other day. He said to mum it was more of a the important thing was how it looked to everyone else. She wanted to appear like she had the perfect family,
Mm,
and to all ends. And I think
right.
that she put up with so much behind the scenes from my dad, so much, and that's why I find difficult. That's why I don't understand necessarily why she stayed, but her husband said, that would have then she would have been from a broken marriage, and
Mm,
she would have seen herself as a failure. It was, and she always saw it like dad was her little, not a project, not a little project. Well, she would say stuff. Oh God, he's so much better than when I first met him. God, I've met, he's a lot more improved. God, and
no. Oh, Elizabeth, do you hear what you're saying?
yep, yep.
Sorry, I'm butting in because I hear her say to you, "Stop complaining. I had it worse."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was me.
Right,
Yeah, I used to complain to her about it, especially when I was an adult,
right.
and that was the response I was met with. Yeah,
Instead
always.
of, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this isn't
He's,
okay.
it's not okay. He shouldn't have done those things, and I should have protected you from them. And I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
But often that was me. It wasn't necessarily me talking about, you know, during her treatment and that. I'd be like, the way he treated her, I would highlight that with her, and she would say things like, God, it's a lot better than it used to be, and da da da. And yeah,
Well, even then, minimizing his behavior, dismissing, denial,
mm,
kind of be lucky for what we've got now, because it could have been so much worse.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yet she wrote those letters knowing full well that without her shielding or filtering or whatever it might be, you were all going to see a side of him even more clearly than she couldn't filter that for you anymore. She couldn't minimize it. She couldn't make it okay.
Yeah. Filter is the word. She used to.
Right.
Yeah. She used to. If we had to tell her, something in your life, you tell mum, and then she would tell him privately, and then she would give it a few days, and then tell us what he thought. And it was always an edited version of some version, and likely not true, actually.
Right. So there's also a triangulation in that, just to observe to you in terms of dynamic,
Hmm.
in that you're not able to take anything directly to your father. It all has to go through your mother. And then you get everything back third hand, even with the porn site thing.
Yeah, I don't ever know whether that was us choosing it or her, but it was always a case. I wouldn't have wanted to go to him direct, in all honesty,
No.
because I don't want to see that reaction. I know what's coming. I've
Right.
seen it.
Right. Let's flip it around again. The best thing always to do with these things when we're stuck in a like, is it my fault? Did I create that dynamic too?
Right.
Flip it back, and in your role as a parent now, and one of your children comes and says to you, this thing, can you tell daddy? I'm scared of daddy. I don't want daddy to know, or I'm scared of what he's going to say or do. What
Mm.
is your response to that?
I'd grab Daddy and I'd sit us all round, I would, and talk to her. But I'd ask why. Why she's
Right?
scared.
So my first thing would be, what is it that scares you about daddy? Why are you scared to tell him?
Mm.
Then my next thing would be, did you know your daughter is scared to bring you things that she thinks that you're going to be angry about?
Mm.
That she is worried about and concerned about or whatever, but she won't bring them to you. She's asked me to tell you so that you react to me and not her.
Mm.
How do you feel about that? And if the response is anything other than, oh my God, that's awful, what is
Terrible.
it that I'm doing? That's problematic to me.
Mm. No, you're
Because,
right.
right, if
Yeah.
a child is saying to one parent, I can't tell that parent that thing. Now, it's very natural throughout development for children to sort of favor one parent over the other and ping pong almost as they grow up,
Mm.
like to, prefer one for this and one for that. That's
Sure.
really normal. So, like, there's nothing around that I'm concerned about in that way, in that it would
Mm.
be really typical for a child to come to one parent first rather than both at the same time, maybe to
Sure.
gauge a reaction or whatever. Sorry, I've got something in my eye, but I want to keep talking.
Oh.
No, it's fine. But the thing being that that if a child is terrified to tell their parent something, that is a problem on the parent's part, not the child's,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because that only occurs where punishment has been meted out for human error,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
Human mistakes,
Yes. Yeah. All,
right? Go
all the
on.
time. Anything I did, anything that you didn't do deliberately, like everyone at work, like, God, you apologize for everything. It's because I just want to get ahead of anything. I don't want to be in trouble. And it's stupid shit. I walk into a wall and I apologize to the wall.
Mm.
It's just I can't stop myself. It's a compulsion. I'm so frightened of getting told off all the time. And my brother says all the time, like, God, I never knew what I was in trouble for. Like, I had no idea.
Right.
Like,
Right. So you're anticipating all the angles so that you're protected,
mm, mm-hmm.
which also then makes me wonder about how protected you actually were by your mother.
Mm,
Because if you were, you maybe wouldn't feel the need to do that.
yeah.
It's a really common trauma response to be hypervigilant to kind of all the ways in which you're going to get attacked,
Mm,
rejected, shamed, humiliated, mocked, whichever it is, right?
mm,
That you're anticipating them all. It's almost why very often when people have experienced this kind of behavior towards them, this emotional abuse, they will do the oversharing thing where they
Mm.
tell you absolutely everything about themselves. Because if I tell you everything, then you can't hold that against me later when you find it out. And
Mm.
if you reject me now, it's easier to cope with than if you reject me in the future. But also, if I tell you all this stuff and you reject me, that means you're the problem, not me. Because
Ah,
what kind of a
okay.
person rejects somebody who's been through everything I've been through,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
There, and this is not to shame any on any level anybody that experiences this, but this is it's almost a control thing. It's a defense mechanism
Mm.
to protect against that rejection, feeling that shame, that toxic shame again. And again, it's quite a clever little strategy that we do, but it does mean that relationships actually aren't growing the way they should organically. And on top of that, it's sort of saying to someone, you're not allowed to reject me. And on top of that, you're giving people a huge amount of power over you because you're
Mm.
sharing all your trauma. And then now they know what they can use to weaponize against you if they're
Mm.
toxic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's go back then to your fear of sharing information and then mum possibly even perpetuating that just on the basis of it meant that she got to be closer to you. She got to be your savior, your rescuer, your protector.
So yeah, that did that was certainly the case. There was a lot of the three of us and Dad. It was a lot of there was two things. There was one which was we're A team and B team, and A team was me and my dad. So I got lumped in with Dad, and B team was
Right.
her and my brother. And I mean, the one thing I will say is she had a favourite, and that was my brother. I have no absolute doubt in my mind about that. And what happened was I got lumped in with Dad a lot, and any time I showed anger, it was like, "Oh, you're just like your dad," and it
Okay.
just I find that so difficult because it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't remotely the same thing.
No, it wasn't. And what do you see it as now? Her
A
doing
manip
that?
a manipulation. It was to make me to stop. If I'm moaning about something, or if I was, kicking off. I hate that phrase, but if I was getting annoyed about something because he was doing something I wasn't happy about, and I was losing my and it would never be to him, but but to her, I'd be like, "Oh God, he did this," and I'd be getting my hair off, and she'd say, "God, you just like him. You just like your dad."
Wait,
And
hang on, sorry.
it
You would be
wound.
going to her saying, he's done this thing that's upset me and hurt me and frustrated me and whatever I'm feeling about it. And her response to your frustration is, "Oh, you're just like him."
Yeah, yeah.
Let me ask you a question that's going to maybe sound left field. Do you fear that you're a bad person?
I feel it in my bones. Yeah,
Okay. Do you know why
yeah.
you might feel that?
I don't know why. I can't point to it, but I always feel like I'm a crappy person,
Okay. What are
and
you
that I
fearful that, what would make you a crappy person? What is it about you that would mean you are a terrible person, that you're a bad person?
I honestly, I don't, I, I don't know. The fact that I have a temper, and I don't, even that, even saying that, I don't think I do. I have anger. I'm
Hmm.
angry at things, but I don't lose control or fly off the handle at people. I don't do any, I don't, I treat people kindly as much as I'm aware of. I worry that I do things. Like my brother writing that letter to my dad. I worry that I hadn't thought of him. I worry that I was selfish, that I chose to write a letter and didn't think, hang on, how's this going to affect him? So I
Right.
worry I'm selfish.
Not selfish. That's not selfish. Protecting yourself from abuse and your children from abuse is not selfish. Your brother has autonomy. He can choose whether or not to be in a relationship with his dad too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's an adult. He doesn't have to. You said yourself that he had actually pulled back when your mum died. He removed himself. Did he worry about how that would impact you?
No, no,
Right.
no.
So I wonder if your fear is based on constant comparison to him, and any time you've had a complaint or a need or just a human anything, it's been that would be demanding either of time, effort, care, empathy, potentially money, or, you know,
Mm.
that it was met with, "Oh my god, you're so demanding and selfish, and actually you're really manipulative and evil," and all those things.
When I was little, they told me to write letters. If I ever get upset, write a letter. Don't send it, just write letters. And I kept that up. And I found letters I wrote at uni and afterwards. And the way I wrote about myself, like I was some horrible person that that I needed to prove myself to my parents, that I had to be better for them, that I was letting them down. And that was really coming across in these letters.
Mm,
I was a disappointment, that I wasn't as they needed me to be, and that I needed to do better. And I found when she died a letter I wrote to them, and I was going away, not traveling, working abroad, and it was all full of apologies, that I would do better, that I wouldn't be so needy, that I wouldn't need money from them, that I would work hard, that I'd be more resilient. In fact, I think I said.
right. Oh, do you hear that?
I know, I'm so upset for myself because I was a good kid and I worked really bloody hard and
You can say "fuck." There's no limits there. You can,
yeah.
like, we love a good
Yeah.
swear, it's no big deal.
So
I
reading that as an adult, I just thought, what the fuck is this? Like, why am I writing that to parents?
Well, why were you writing it? What were you thinking? Do you know?
I thought it was a disappointment that I wasn't good enough, that I always felt an embarrassment from them because I was this awkward, big, chubby girl that struggled socially, that and my brother was a very good looking, charismatic, charming, outgoing, very funny, cracker. He's a brilliant guy. Comparatively, I don't come off well. So as a child, when your mum's like doughy eyed and staring at your brother and just she was embarrassed by me. My dad certainly was. And yeah,
Just imagine for a moment that your children think that you're embarrassed by them.
then I've really fucking failed.
I mean, truly, I would
Yeah.
be I would be devastated,
Yeah.
right? But what I hear you saying in that letter is, or what I hear, maybe just even in this, is for me not to be a disappointment to them, I could not be I could not ask anything of them in any way, shape, or form. I had to be, I had to have no needs. I had to
Mm.
have no, I mean, life, life as you grow up, right? As you enter adulthood, is naturally filled with trips and falls and pitfalls that you had
Mm.
no idea were there. Your
Mhm.
first car and you get the wrong lease agreement, or you buy
Yes.
your first phone and you sign a 2-year contract and break the phone the next day.
Mm.
Things like that are part of becoming an adult. And your parent, in an ideal world, guides you through that
Mm.
and supports you when you screw up or something goes wrong. And even as an adult, like now, I'm 46 now, if things go wrong, if I make a mistake, it, you know, it would be nice if there's someone there to say, "Oh, it's all right, I'll help you, I've got your back."
Yeah.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
And I will do
And I
that for my children if I'm still around when they're, this age.
mm.
And the what I hear you tell me is to be good enough for your parents, you cause them, you literally don't even impact, like, there's a wall between you in terms of emotional need that only goes one way. So they can demand absolutely anything and everything off you, but you can't have anything back. And
Yeah.
in that way, you will no longer, you said resilient. I'll be more resilient. People get the word resilient wrong all the time. People
Mm.
understand resilient to mean bear more. I will take more, I will carry more, I will be able to manage, this load, and you can keep
Mm.
adding to it. The more resilient I am, the more I can carry. Actually, resilience means snapping back after a period of stress to emotional
Mm.
regulation. So it means that I will go through a piece of stress, but I'll be able to cope while I'm in it. And when it's over, I will come back to myself.
Oh,
Right?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. People get this wrong all the time. You know, when you see like HR going, "Oh, do resilience, you need to build your resilience." It's like what they're trying to say is you need to take more work on, and actually what they should be saying is we need to be able to allow you to handle stress better.
Ah,
Right?
okay.
It's not about being able to do more and be more stressed. It's about being able to cope with short bursts of stress and be able to return back to your original self before the stress, right?
Right.
You were saying,
Mm.
I'll cope with everything on my own. I won't ask a thing of you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was what would have got their acceptance of you. Both of them, I might point out,
Yeah. Yeah, it would
right?
have been.
There is such a grief in this whole piece, you know, because you see your dad for what he is. You see
Mm.
his behavior. I think you may be in that space of minimizing your
Mm.
feelings about it because it naturally that there's almost a grief in that how bad it actually was.
Mm.
But every time you do that, like you sort of go, well, maybe it wasn't that bad because he was in a
Mm.
locked room or whatever. Imagine it was your children experiencing it and your
Yeah.
partner doing it.
Mm.
And then when it comes to your mum, I said to you earlier, the two things can be true, that she could be a victim and an enabler and
Yeah.
perpetuating it. And I think maybe they are true. She
Mm.
clearly felt some kind of need to enable his delusion of his own grandeur and superiority and the perfection of their marriage.
Mm.
But you were a casualty of that for her to maintain that. And that
Yeah.
is not okay. And I'm desperately sorry that this is being revealed to you in such a kind of brutal way and post her death, because in that part, there's such a difficulty as well because you can't have those conversations with her. And
Mm.
that in itself is obviously really tricky too.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
Angry to be honest. No, yeah, it feels like I've chipped at something there with mum and stuff that I feel like I did know. I just wasn't acknowledging.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't want to because it was hard enough losing her, and there was comfort in the idea that she would have been all these things
Mm.
and all this
A
support.
fantasy.
And I don't know if that was necessarily true.
It's a really difficult thing. There's two things that we do growing up in these, or could do, and I've talked quite a lot in the past about the complementary moral defense, where the child believes that they're the bad thing to make sure that the bad parent stays the good thing.
Mm.
But there's also a fantasy bond that can happen where the child believes the parent is perfect and the greatest thing. And with the
Mm.
enabling parent, we kind of get half of that, or maybe a bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
And what I'm, you know, what is really valid is your anger because you assumed, or maybe no, maybe it's that you naturally, because we have to believe one of them is safe.
Mm.
And you had to believe that she was safe, because the alternative would have been horrific, right? So
Mm.
for you to acknowledge that she was not protecting you would have been horrific growing up. And then, of course, with her, being ill and then
Mm.
dying, that also is horrific. I think she was possibly a victim in some ways in the behavior being exhibited towards her, I imagine, was not pleasant, but particularly behind closed doors. There was something very telling about people who are willing to do certain things in public, and public being in front of children, included their own
Mm.
children, in the open, I suppose.
Mm.
So him being happy to look at pornography in the same room as his children shows his attitude towards sex. The fact he's comfortable talking about women in the way that he talked about them also shows his attitude towards sex and his entitlement to do so. So I imagine there may be more
Mm.
going on than we are aware of for her victimization.
I do. He in post her passing, her death, and dating. There were some things that Dad told me, and if you read between the lines, you'd think I would call the police.
Okay.
And
Okay.
when we sent this letter, we installed a chain on the front door and a lock on the back gate. And when we can afford it, we will change the locks. And
Right. He's
it just
dangerous, is what you're telling me.
he'll come into your house. No doubt about that. He went into a woman's house that had stopped speaking to him, uninvited, in the night, into her house,
What?
and wanted to know why she'd split up with him. And she was on the toilet when he went in. So she came out and had it out with him. That poor, poor, poor woman.
That's horrific.
It is horrific, and I remember at the time just going at him about it, and he was like, "No, I needed to know. She had to tell me. You can't just leave it up in the air like that. I need to know." And I thought, "Oh my, he just got no grasp on what's okay. There's nothing anchoring that man to the ground. He's just,
That is indicative of dangerous
I know,
behaviour.
yeah, really, really, really worrying, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there's
He's clearly not safe,
no,
and your mum clearly knew that.
mm,
She may well have been a victim as well, but she
mm,
also didn't protect you, and she also did have agency and choice. She was working.
mm. She actually was the main breadwinner. She was.
Right. So she had a lot of agency,
Mm.
and she chose not to use it. And for that, we can hold her accountable for everything
Mm.
that she did not protect you from, for everything that she enabled you for. And then we can also we can maybe be grateful for things that she did do. But
Mm.
the point is seeing the whole picture instead of that thing that we do when parents die, or anyone
Mm.
really, and sainting them.
Yes, of course.
Elizabeth, we're coming to the end of our time, and
Mm.
I'm wondering where you are in terms of what you needed from me, and whether we've kind of got you to a place where you're feeling like you've got closer to those goals.
Yeah, I feel like there's something I wanted to peel back there about Mum, and I feel like that is certainly something that's started here. So it's something I'll probably try and explore with therapy a bit more, because previously, obviously, it got taken up a lot with Dad,
Yeah.
and I never ever thought to even talk about her.
For me as a therapist, the enabling parent is actually where most of the grief lies,
Wow.
because it's very, normal and natural to be super angry at the abusive parent, but we can see them as abusive.
Mm.
When we start processing that, and that kind of starts like resolving almost, or reconciling, maybe for a better
Mm.
word, the kind of spotlight shifts onto who did not protect us.
Mm.
And very often it's the other parent. And there is such a huge grief because the betrayal of that is just gigantic, because we thought they were good.
Mm.
And then we realized that actually they were protecting themselves over us. And
Yeah.
the anger and the grief and all of those things that you're feeling about that are super valid.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean you can't love her, and it doesn't mean you have to sort of unlove her, as it were, and cast her
Yeah.
out and put her in this different frame altogether. But it's seeing her as the reality because of how it impacted you as a result,
Mm. Yes.
right? That it has
Yeah.
left you. And I'm sorry if you can
No,
hear.
I love them.
I know, brilliant. The dog and the child are shouting at each other because it's supper time, and like,
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
stop it, love
yeah,
them.
yeah, bless them.
Oh,
So I will go and do that in a
rude. Yes,
moment.
of course.
But is there anything else that you need from me now?
No, I appreciate your time. No, it was really, really useful to really look at that, to look it in the eye. So yeah, yeah. No, thank you for your time on that. It was really, it is really useful. It's really sad.
And it is sad,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is where the healing really begins.
Mm.
This is where you might start liking yourself, where you start
Mm.
not apologizing and realize that you don't have to do that to be safe. That if people are demanding apology from you for just existing or just being a human, that is about them and not you. And they're seeking to assert dominance rather than help you grow. And
Mm.
you deserve to be supported and championed and helped to grow and not kept small. You know, you're allowed to take up space. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Yes, it feels good. Yeah, that would be great.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it'll be there. All right. Well, obviously, as always, you're able to email me any questions
Mhm.
if there's things that are unresolved, and yeah, I'll absolutely respond and help you if there's anything that we've unpicked that you're really struggling with.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing what you did and being so open and honest, I guess, really, you
Thank you
know,
very much for your time. Yeah.
absolute pleasure. Wow, there we are. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you, everybody who is listening. And as ever, all that remains to be said is take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.